foundation is standardized hypervisor builds that leave as little to chance as possible. Start from vendor baselines and security hardening guides, then strip services until only role-essential processes remain. Update channels must be signed, pinned, and tested in a small ring before broad rollout, with rollback procedures rehearsed so a bad patch does not become a long outage. Confirmation drift is the enemy of trust, so enforce desired state with policy and report deviations as first-class alerts. Keep a short record for every host firmware lineage, hypervisor version, enabled modules, deviation tickets, so an auditor or responder can see in minutes whether the footing was solid on the day something went wrong. Harden once, then enforce forever is the rhythm that keeps platform risks small. Administrative access must be both strong and accountable because a single session can reshape a data center. Require multi-factor authentication, spelled MFA, at every privileged entry point. Route all administration through jump hosts that record sessions, and apply role-based access control, RBAC, with least privilege and short-lived elevation. Console, hypervisor shell, and management portal actions should be auditable by person, time, source, and target, with approvals attached for high-impact operations, power cycles, data store mounts, and host evacuations. Third-party support access deserves the same treatment: case-bound windows, named individuals, and explicit termination. Strong controls here deter misuse, accelerate investigations, and make your operations team safer because no one needs to remember the last time a temporary superuser stayed permanent. Networks in virtualization platforms must look like clear maps, not spaghetti. Separate management, storage, and virtual machine, spelled VM, networks physically where possible and logically everywhere, and enforce deny-by-default rules between them. Management has no business touching tenant data paths, storage paths do not need north-south internet reach, and VM segments talk only to declared peers or gateways. Egress is where drift often hides, so constrain outbound from management and backup components to specific update repositories, license servers, and telemetry syncs. Document these paths in plain sentences a new engineer can read aloud and confirm with packet captures. When a misconfiguration or compromise occurs, separation ensures the blast radius stays small and the timeline becomes obvious in the logs. Good guests start with good templates. Define VM templates with secure defaults, patched operating systems, minimal packages, host firewalls on, logging and endpoint agents pre-enrolled, and timesync pinned to trusted sources. Express the guardrails as policy as code so a pipeline rejects images that miss controls. And tag templates with purpose, owner, and lifecycle so each deployment inherits stewardship. For Linux and Windows alike, disable legacy protocols, set sensible passwordless and key policies, and leave a small banner in system logs that proves which template birthed the instance. When templates are modern and enforced, the estate feels coherent. Early detections look the same, forensics can trace lineage, and exceptions become deliberate and time-bounded rather than ad hoc. Snapshots and cloning are powerful and risky, so you control them as you would production backups. Require approvals for snapshots that persist beyond short troubleshooting windows, and define retention rules that align to policy rather than habit. Encrypt stored images and snapshots with customer-managed keys where feasible, and record who created, mounted, exported, or deleted each artifact. Cloning follows the same rules. Identity, purpose, and expiration must be visible, and clones cannot silently inherit credentials or static addresses that collide with production. A clean process turns "let's take a quick snapshot" from an operational shortcut into an auditable step with a measured cost and a predictable cleanup. Visibility inside the fabric keeps lateral surprises rare. Monitor inter-VM traffic and east-west flows with virtual taps, host sensors, or distributed firewalls that can express allow lists by tag rather than address. Treat identity as a rule input, web tier to app tier, and let the platform keep rules stable as instances churn. Alert on unexpected protocols, sudden fan-out, or forbidden tier jumps, and keep a short habit of grabbing packet captures when anomalies appear, so your claims rest on bytes, not vibes. When east-west monitoring speaks the same language as your segmentation diagrams, triage becomes quicker, and containment becomes surgical against one tenant, one tier, or one noisy guest. Lifecycle tracking is the administrative memory that prevents sprawl from erasing security. From create, to move, to suspend, to retire, each VM carries an owner, a business purpose, a data class, and a link to the change or request that justified it. Moves, evacuations, and storage migrations produce events you retain, so forensics can align performance shifts and access with infrastructure changes. Retirement includes credential revocation, key deletion or rotation, snapshot cleanup, and tag removal so a ghost does not reappear as a surprise bill or a stale endpoint. When lifecycle is visible, capacity planning improves, patch windows make sense, and the attack surface stops accumulating forgotten doors. Live migration is an operational gift, but only when the security of that motion is explicit. Validate that migration channels use authenticated, integrity-protected transport end-to-end, with certificates pinned to your management plane and revocation checked on purpose. Restrict migration domains so workloads move only within defined clusters and not across business boundaries without a change request. Monitor for unusual migration bursts, which can signal operational distress or a cover for data movement you did not intend. Record the who, where, and why for every migration event and keep a quick test at hand that proves a man in the middle could not have observed memory in transit. A secure migration story protects confidentiality and preserves trust in the very feature you rely on for maintenance. Backups deserve application-consistent truth, not just snapshots of moving targets. Integrate hypervisor-level backups with guest quiesce where possible, database awareness, log truncation, transaction coordination, and verify restores in a cadence that matches risk. One golden restore per application stack each quarter beats a library of untested images on the wrong day. Measure recovery time objective, RTO, and recovery point objective, RPO, against reality, not hope. And store the transcripts, job identifiers, checksums, operator names near your runbooks. When you can demonstrate a clean recovery for a sample of crown jewel systems, your platform moves from theoretical resilience to practical, defensible continuity. Unchecked growth is where costs, risk, and confusion multiply, so address sprawl with routines rather than admonitions. Reclaim orphaned VMs by reconciling tags and owners monthly. Quarantine unknown instances into a low-trust network until ownership is asserted, and right-size resources using usage reports that highlight chronic over-provisioning. Publish a short, friendly weekly note-top, reclaimed systems, cost avoided, risk reduced, to reinforce that cleanup is real work with visible payoff. Sprawl shrinks when creators know that ownership will be visible, exceptions will expire, and unused resources will be retired without drama. A short scenario shows the choreography for a sensitive workload that must meet strict controls. A team requests a new analytics VM. The platform pipeline stamps out the instance from a secure template with patched operating system, endpoint agent, and logging pre-wired. Placement policy lands it in an application tier segment that can speak only to the data tier on a narrow port set. And deny by default rules block egress to the internet, except through a managed proxy. Storage mounts arrive from a zoned SAN with encryption enabled and access tied to a service identity. Backup policy registers the VM for application-consistent snapshots and schedules a trial restore in the staging cluster next week. Every step leaves receipts, template identifier, network rule hash, data store name, backup job number, so the owner can pass an initial review without scavenger hunts. We close with a focused action that turns today's material into safer operations. Direct a virtualization hardening review across one representative cluster. Confirm hypervisor versions against vendor baselines. Check that management, storage, and VM networks are separated as declared. Sample admin actions for MFA and RBAC evidence. And verify that snapshots older than policy are either justified or removed. Record top gaps with owners and dates. Unsigned update channel, overly permissive egress from management, missing encryption on a data store, stale templates, and publish a short remediation plan. When those items are closed with artifacts attached, your virtualization platform will behave like a disciplined utility, hardened hosts, isolated guests, and controls you can prove without breaking stride. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.